How's you going, boys? Mike here. Welcome back to Grampie's workshop. I'm so happy you're here today. The other week there I put all the fronts on the drawers on the bench. Looks pretty nice. I'll paint it up. The pulls are painted now too. Looks nice, eh? But I got this big gaping hole right here. And remember I had that oval tabletop that I had to cut down, and I was so nervous that I was going to cut it too small. Turned out I cut it. It was a good size. But I'm not going to use that as a drawer front. I'm going to split it in half and make two doors out of it. So the doors would open up, and then the drawer would then slide out. So to mount my doors on the bench there, I want to use European cabinet style hinges. If you're not familiar with those, it's an intricate kind of a hinge. It's nice. It gives multiple adjustment opportunity once you get them mounted on the door and the cabinet frame. So that's what I wanted to use. They're nice, and they're soft closing for the most part. A lot of them are. So I opened a set of a package of them, two in a package. And what they are, it's there's a little cup end on this side, and you make a 35 millimeter diameter hole in the cabinet door, and you put that in there and you screw that to the door, and then this part, the long part here, the arm, fastens to the cabinet frame. You can separate the bulk of the hinge here, the arm and everything, from this wing that mounts on the cabinet frame by this little tab at the back. You just pop that up. So this part will go in the frame. Oops, this part goes on the door, so that makes them, easy to take on and off if you want to refinish your cabinets or something. It just clips in there, and then with a little bit of pressure, it snaps in place. And these screws here provide like up and down adjustment in and out so that the door will close tight around the cabinet. When you talk about door closures on a cabinet, there's such a thing as full overlay, half overlay, and flush. All right, 3 different settings. I was kind of going for the half overlay, but when these hinges showed up, I noticed that they're full overlay hinges. That's my fault. I ordered full overlay instead of half overlay. And what the full overlay means is that they'll overlay the outside edge of the cabinet opening by, well, upwards of 3/4 of an inch. And when I laid out my cupboard door there, I laid it out for a 1/2 inch of overlay. So I'm thinking, because I'm going to set these to try to get as close to maybe 5/8 of an inch of overlay as I can. So that means there could be between an 1/8 and 1/4 inch gap between the two door faces. Anyway, that's what happens, eh? But we're going to go to work and try to lay these out, set them up, mount them on the cabinet. I think they're going to work good. So this is my door front. It's all in one piece right now. So what I need to do is cut it in half. And just to make sure that I get this cut exactly in half, I'm going to set this just before the blade. And I'm going to measure from the fence to the right edge of the blade. And then that's about 14 7/16. 14 7/16. We have to cut it, so let's do it. I wanted to make these half overlay doors, but I think they're going to be full. Well, I don't think, I know they're going to be full overlay doors. So I think a gap that big would even be almost too big. But if that's what I end up with, then I'll have to come up with an idea how I can minimize that gap, but we'll work on that. So I'm getting ready to put my hinges on the door here. In that opening, there's a drawer that slides out at the bottom, and that is about 4 inches up from the bottom of the drawer. So I want to make sure that the hinge that I put in here is high enough above that door slide so it doesn't interfere with it. It was 4 inches from the bottom, plus it's going to overhang by a 1/2 inch, overlay by a 1/2 inch, so that's 4.5. Let's go 6. That way I'll be sure. So I'm going to draw a line here at 6. And the hinge at the top, I've determined that could be anywhere, but I'm going to put it at 3 inches. We'll put a line here. The hole I'm going to drill is 35 millimeters in diameter. So half of 35 is 17.5. A millimeter and a half from the edge of there, so that's 17.5, 18, 19. So if I set this up for 19 millimeters, there, 19, look at that, I got it right on. So then if I go here and make a mark, in here, now I'm going to center punch those, and then I have to drill a couple of 35 millimeter diameter holes in there, 11 millimeters deep. Boy, that's close to the edge, isn't it? So I'm set up here at the drill press to start drilling my holes for the hinges, and I'm scared. I think I'm going to wreck this. But anyway, I've got a 35mm Forstner bit in my drill press. I highlighted where the center punch holes were with some red paint so that I could line them up a little bit better. And I spent some time to try to get that lined as best as I could. And then I clamped everything down on the table. So hopefully, as long as I don't bump anything, it should work out all right. And if I check that, man dear, that's close to the edge. But anyway, let's go. Oh, one other thing. I've determined that when the top of this bit gets flush with the top of the door, that's as deep as I need to go. All right, so let's go. I want to check it before I release it from the clamps, right? Oh yeah, that's deep enough. Okay, and it's pretty close to the edge, but it didn't come through. But I got to drill another one now, so I'm going to set up and drill the other one, and we'll be right back. All right, so there's the two holes. We're going to go mount the hinges. We want to get these as square as we can, of course. What I have here is a center punch. And then check for square again. Okay, so there's my hinges mounted on the doors, at least, right? On the left door. So I'm going to do this same thing on the right hand door, and then we can spend some time trying to figure out how we're going to mount them in the frame. Ha! So getting ready to mount the inside cabinet base part of the hinge now. These are going to go in here. So when I put the male part of the hinge on the door, I set it up so it would be 3 inches down from the top, 6 inches up from the bottom, but that was counting a 1/2 inch overlay. So that means where I need to locate this pin is going to be 2.5 inches down from this top plate, 5.5 inches up from this bottom plate. So I went to work and I measured there, put a couple of marks. It says measure 37mm back to locate where this plate will go. So I did that. So that's going to go right there. These measurements are kind of critical because they have to match up with the hinges that you have on your door already. But there is a little bit of wiggle room on these hinges where I'm mounting them because there's vertical slots. Line this up as close as I can to that line that I made. And now we'll do the same with this bottom hinge. Okay, we just snug those up. They look pretty good right there. All right, let's get the door and put the door in there. And the way these hinges go in, I think I mentioned that before, but there's a couple of dogs here at the back, and they hook on the front of this receiver, and then you just press them in tight, and then there's a spring-loaded latch there that'll latch them in place. So we'll hook that in there, and then that should clip. I guess it did, I never heard it. And we'll hook this one down here. There you go. That one clipped. Okay, so they're in. See that? To wrestle with them a little bit to get them to hook up, but they're in there. They close really slow, eh? I'm hoping that that speeds up in time. But anyway, it doesn't look too bad, really. So I'm going to set up and do the hinge plates. These fancy little silvery things here. I'm going to put those on this side, and then we'll put the second door on. Okay, now we're going to try and hook this door in. See how it works. There's one. Two. All right, not bad. So the first problem I see here is the right-hand door is way too high compared to the left-hand door. Now I can fix that, but more importantly, this gap, it looks a little more narrow at the top than it does at the bottom. And with these European hinges, we can fix that too. So to start with, I'm going to address this right-hand door being too high. I'm going to loosen off these hinge screws, the hinge plate screws, and let that door slide down a little because of the vertical slots in those hinge plates. I'm able to do that. So I'm just going to loosen this screw off a little. And loosen this screw. And this screw. And this screw. Excuse my head there. All right. So that door went down a little bit. So I'm going to tighten these screws again right here. What I'm going to do now is try to raise the left-hand door up some. So I just finished moving these hinge butt plates up. So now when I close the door, the tops are pretty near even. So what am I going to do with this gap? I don't know. I come up with an idea of how I can address this gap. But before I talk to you about that, the gap is wider at the bottom than it is at the top. So that means the doors are twisted in this way. So the beauty of these European style hinges is there's a couple of screws here on these arms that you can adjust to take care of that. But I'm going to try and bring the bottom of this one in a little bit. So to bring that in, I think what I would have to do is get my Phillips screwdriver. What that does when you turn that, it's moving this arm away from that hinge plate. And when you move that away from the hinge plate, when you close the door, you move the bottom of the door to the left in this case. That seems better. The thing you have to watch for though is when you move the bottom of the door left, it raises this top part. So, you know, it gets quite a few little idiosyncrasies that you have to take into account. But that doesn't look too bad right there. So now my idea for addressing this gap, because on my doors I've got a little 1/4 inch chamfer here, I was thinking I could just get a piece of 3/4 inch material, put a chamfer on it, and it'd only be like 1/8 of an inch wide with an 1/8 chamfer on it, and then glue that on this door, glue that on this door. That would put the chamfer on there, and it would close up that gap. So I'm looking for a piece of material to put on those doors over there, and going through my scrap bin, of course, and I found this piece of, it's a piece of 1 by pressure treat is what it was. I don't know what it came off of, doesn't matter. But it's 3/4 of an inch thick, which is just what I need. You know, I'm going to put the chamfer on before I cut it because it wouldn't work the other way. I don't have a good way for dust collection around my router, but I do have my Gasman air filter, so I'm going to turn that on. And we're going to try that. It won't get the big dust, but it'll get the small dust. We're going to try and cut this. We're going to rip cut it. Try to just get 1/8 of an inch off it. Oh, this is going to be tricky. Okay, so here's my 2 pieces. So I just want to test them here to see. They'll go in there nice, and there's a little bit of room, little tight spots, but I think that'll be all right. If I put those on there, paint them up, or sand them a little bit first, make sure that they fit good, then paint them up, I think it should be ideal, eh? Gonna put a little glue on here. And then I'm putting the chamfered side, of course, towards the front of the door. And then I've got some 1 inch brads here we're going to try to secure that with these. All right, we'll just set these aside to dry, and then when the glue is set up, we'll sand them down a little bit and prepare them for some paint. One other thing I have to do with my doors is I have to cut a notch out of the bottom side of the door here to let the drawer slide go through that, I just set the blade up here about half the thickness of the drawer of the door front. So I'm going to set it back here. I set my fence now so I can put the door against the fence, start cutting on this cut, and then move the door across until I finish on that side, and then that should carve out that opening enough to allow the drawer slide to pass through that. I marked this line here to show where the start of the blade is, but I need to come 3 inches past that. You put a mark there, that's where I want to stop. So there it is cut out. By the time I put some paint on that, hopefully it won't be as obvious, but we're going to have to live with it. Well, we're ready to start painting. Painting, boys, I'm telling you. I don't think I'll ever be finished painting. But painting does make a difference in the projects, makes them look better, I think. Alright, so I'm going to paint all these, and when the paint's dry on them, we're going to install them and have a look and see how my repair turned out for closing up that gap between the two doors. So I got the doors all painted and the hinges put back on and mounted here. And I'm doing them one at a time here because I want to show you something. So that one closes nice and it's all painted up, and you can't really even tell where that seam is there, eh? So that's good, or I can't tell, so I hope you can't either. And there you go. Okay, now do they both close together? That's the key. Ding, ding, ding. Good job. It's slow. Building up, building up, building up. And oh, they do, but they're touching a little bit, you know. So because they're touching a little bit, and also this one is a little bit higher, in order to lower that down and even to draw them both away now in the middle, what I did before, if you remember, to raise this to get those edges together, I screwed this screw in, to pull the hinge part out to push the bottom of the door over. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this or unscrew it. So there's 2 turns. And I'm going to take this one turn. And then close it. So that top is a little bit better, but you see the doors aren't touching anymore. So that gap doesn't look too bad. But what I'm going to do is turn this side, I'm going to turn this out, a quarter of a turn, let's say, no, a half a turn. 1, 2, and I'll turn this one turn, and then see what happens. Now they're touching again. Okay, so that didn't work. So let's turn this back a quarter turn. Turn this back a quarter turn. And then what happens? Now they're not touching anymore, but this right side is just a little bit too high, so that means I have to lower this one, so I'm going to drop that over a little bit, and I'm going to drop that over a little bit more. I'm going to drop this one a half a turn. So there, the tops are pretty well even. And that gap is not bad there right now. Now, one thing I'm noticing is the left side closes pretty tight, the right side doesn't close very tight at all. And I think the way we can fix that is, if I loosen this inside screw, and loosen this inside screw so the whole door can move out now, which is what I'm looking for. So I'm going to move this bottom one out just a little. Right about there, I'm thinking. Tighten this guy. Set this top one so that the gap between the door and the frame is about the same. So now try it. Yeah, that's better. So you see there, I didn't explain it very well, but there's 2 screws on each hinge plate, and the inside screw, you can loosen that and you can move the door in and out. These outside screws adjust the top up and down. So yeah, there's lots of different adjustments you can get with these hinges. So the hinges are pretty nice. So I'm just finishing putting this second handle on here. So we open that, and this cutaway I made here allows for the drawer to slide out completely. So that works good. And we close them up, and eventually they'll close. There they go. Okay, it doesn't look too bad, I'd say. So there's the bench, finished, complete. As far as the drawers are concerned, all the drawer fronts are on, the handles, the pulls are all painted, the doors are on and adjusted, and even the bench under the window has all the drawers in and painted. So thanks a lot for watching. You know, this project took a long time to finish, but it was a long time in the planning and the preparation and the dreaming stages too, which is all done now. So thanks a lot for watching, and don't forget, if you liked it, thumbs up me, and have a great week wherever you are. We'll talk to you.